Hello, everybody. Let's get everybody
Hello.
here.
We're missing Chris.
All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. We are here for another one for a big panel. We have our returning guest as well as Christopher Bulfinch. This episode is the State of Numismatics, Metals and the Future Collecting Roundtable Part 2. We had all our returning guests, like I mentioned. Um, how is everyone? I don't know if that's a kind of an open-ended question. um, there's a lot of you guys. All right, we'll just go with the intros before we start. Just get everything here. I'm Dustin. I'm an entrepreneur and technologist. I've been collecting coins since I was about 8 years old. An early eBay seller since 1999 with Pokemon cards, accidentally purchasing them as a child. And I've been building computers since I was 9 years old. I invested in early technology like the cryptocurrency and blockchain. I get on the trading cards and stuff like that. So I've been really kind of in the kind of mixture of like the physical and digital kind of world. And then introducing John Mady, CEO, founder, American Coin and Currency. Been working with or built ACC for about 10 years, over 10 years at this point, as a marketing group degree at Florida University. Was avid collector, deep passion, numismatics, and rewards of building something he truly loves. So, building ACC from the ground up. David LeBlanc, founder and precious metals coaching, Canadian-based metals educator, helping individuals protect purchasing power through physical gold, silver, and platinum. David specializes in inflation protection, monetary history, and practical metal strategy for everyday people. And David Donahue, founder of Donahue Numismatics, professional musicist with 20 years in the hobby, specializing in custom coin albums, numismatic photography, and collection presentation. Yeah, definitely check that out. David Bridges, craftsmanship, preservation, and storytelling in high-end collecting. Christian Strayhorn, educator, director at American Numismatic Association. She's doing really great with helping educate the children. It's good to talk to you earlier, learning about how there's a lot more people interested this year more than others at other events. If you guys don't know, she's a historian, educator who has modernized ENA's educational program, launched the youth initiatives, and expanding numismatic learning through here. Oh, so I get lost. Okay, I think I'm still here. Is that them? Uh-oh. Hello? You guys hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Let's go back. Okay. And I'm back. I think I'm back.
You're back.
Okay. Anyway, where was we are issues for the youth, expand numismatics learning through digital platforms. Oh my goodness. Okay, I gotta fix this. All right. Don't mind me. Limited internet, I guess. Okay. We're good. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Thumbs up.
Can't see you.
Okay, cool.
We can hear you.
Anyways, so yeah, let's go back in there. Christian focuses on accessibility, history, education, foundation, and collecting. So big on education with the educational program. Christopher Bulfinch, director of coins, currency, stamps, and collectibles at Doyle Auctions. Am I here? I'm not on this screen, but you can hear me, I guess.
Can you guys? Can everyone hear me?
Director of coins, currency, stamps, collectibles, Doyle Auctions, and appraisers. With experience across auction houses and numismatic publication, he brings expertise in market trends, provenance, and collectible valuation in the auction market for rare coins and historical artifacts. Thanks for joining us this week, Christopher.
It's awesome to be here.
Thank you.
I don't hear the audio. All right, let me click out real quick. I'll be right back, guys.
All right.
If you want to lead John real quick.
Sure, no problem. No problem. Yeah, so I'm sure we all follow what's going on in the markets, and I'm intrigued by the Liberty Bells that were released today, and I would love to get some feedback on the pricing that the Mint posted for these. I believe when last time I checked, the silver were already sold out, and then they have the half-ounce gold and then the 1 ounce gold, and that's the 1 ounce gold Liberty Bell. That's the highest priced 1 ounce gold piece I think I've ever seen the Mint release. I don't know if anyone has any comments on that, or why they're asking such a premium for those. I know it's very low mintage, but it's intriguing to me.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what these coins do 5-10 years down the road. We know from the last 10-15 years, the Mint has always kind of had this higher than expected price for their run-of-the-mill products. And then on the secondary market, again, 5-10 years down the road after the release, it kind of crashes. Looking at proof sets, silver proof sets that are trading at silver content, will these Liberty Bells follow the same pattern? Will they kind of collapse in price down to their bullion value when they become commonplace on the market and they're no longer such a hot item?
Perhaps. I mean, the mintage is 2026 pieces of each variety. The only other thing I can think of that was that kind of low mintage were the V75s that came out a few years ago, the gold and silver, which still sell at a huge premium in the secondary markets. So the only issue is that in the past, when we get our coins, we're pretty much guaranteed a certain allotment of 70s. We don't want the 69s or 68s, but with these in particular, there's no guarantee of what grade we might get. So we're just going to get a few of the silver, I think, and cross our fingers that we get some 70s in house.
Yeah, when I first saw that release, about a month ago, my initial reaction was, "Oh, the gold reset is here," and the Mint let it out of the bag. So it's interesting. That is such a huge premium. I mean, look at the silver. Even the half-ounce silver is $750 US. So, I mean, I get that the US Mint does typically have pretty high premiums, but like you said, John, I've never seen astronomical premiums and pricing like this and such a low mintage. So I think there's a lot that spurs a lot of maybe conspiracy theories, or actually could be real theories. I heard from the grapevine that the U.S. Mint director was told to make as little silver and gold as you possibly can. For what reason? Who knows? And I don't know if it's factual. Of course, as you know, the Mint has a legal requirement to make enough product to meet public demand, and that's at the discretion of the Secretary of the Treasury. How do you measure public demand? It's tough, because is it a chicken and egg thing? If you're going to price your stuff at $20,000 an ounce, that's going to kill demand pretty quickly. So yeah, very interesting. 250 celebrations going on in the U.S. As David said, are people flocking to this only to maybe have the price come back to reality years from now? Yeah, it's all very good questions.
Yeah. Well, someone already has the 1 ounce posted up on eBay, and they're asking 70,000 for it, which is ridiculous.
Good luck.
That's insane.
I think from the people I talk with and deal with, I deal more with collectors than dealers in my position, and I think it's so incredibly frustrating to collectors. You know, they're like, when 1976, I could do this and I could order this and I had this. And now they're just like, how do I even get on a list? And then once I'm on a list, that's great. But then what are these prices? You know, it's definitely hard for the collecting community to invest in America 250 in a way that they did with the bicentennial. And we see that reflected. I think we see that reflected culturally, not just in our coins, but people are like, it's just too hard to access. They've made it just too much of a thing.
Makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot of people upset, and that's been, like you said, Christian, that's been going on for years. I'm constantly reading the editorials in like Coin World magazine, and people writing in that it's just so unfair that the you know, that they're getting cut out. They can't even get the pieces that they want because they're sold out immediately. And it's a tough situation, I guess.
I mean, even for us, you know, we try to purchase stuff from the Mint as giveaways to kids through our nonprofit. You know, kids do projects, they earn stuff, we get donations, and we're on lists and we try to get stuff, and we can't even get stuff. You know, we're giving out stuff from 2017, 18, 19 at this point, just because it's not available. It's definitely not easy for us to access either. I went to World Expo, which is a philatelic show. I'm so sorry I'm talking about stamps right now, but I went to the World Expo in Boston in May as a coin representative about our coin education, because there's a lot of crossover collecting. And people were just really honestly upset about circulation even, right? Like, I can't get anything in circulation that's new. Like, I want to see a new dime. I want to see a new quarter or whatever. So obviously we're in a different world where coins don't circulate as much, but I do see a lot of frustration with the people I talk to.
Yeah. Has anyone found the 4th of July quarter yet in circulation? Anyone on the panel?
I'm honestly just starting to see 2025 coins in my area.
Okay.
I haven't seen it either. 2025 is a rarity for me as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, at the shows, the Mint has, because at the World's Fair of Money in Pittsburgh in August, they'll have the machines there where you can go put your $5 bill in and get $5 of quarters out of the machine, you know, dimes, stuff like that. And we do that a lot for the kids, but I haven't seen anything circulated.
Yeah. Yeah, they're already asking over $1,000 on eBay for the 2026 quarter, 4th of July quarter with the 4th of July privy mark on it. So what is it, 150,000? Is it that the Mint, or is it 250,000 that they put in circulation randomly? I think it's 150,000 pieces. So I went to the bank this morning and I asked them if they had them, and they said no, but they could put it in order, I guess, with the Federal Reserve or whoever, you know, I would imagine the Federal, you know, their local branch, and get some. So we're gonna get a few boxes and go through them and see if we can be. To me, it's like the Willy Wonka ticket. You know, it's maybe we'll find one or two. Who knows? Or nothing. But yeah, you know, Dustin always puts together a nice segment. Unfortunately, he's having issues probably because he's traveling and not at his spot there at home. But yeah, it'd be nice just to get some feedback on where everyone thinks the market, where it stands right now. I love everyone's different perspectives. You know, Christian, you're an educator. That does not sound good. Dustin. Hey, Dust, there you go.
Say, there you go, champ. He's giving it his all down over there.
He is. I know it's frustrating for him when this happens.
Yeah.
It happens
sure.
when it's just him and I sometimes. And so
Yeah.
having, you know, 5 people on the panel makes it a little more difficult. But it's great because we're all in this industry, but in different ways, and that's why it's just so nice to get different outlooks and opinions and kind of, I read an article the other day that I sent to my coworkers. It was about it was from Heritage, how halfway through the year they're on a, collectibles in general, they're on a record-breaking year, and that's collectibles across the board. And so, like, I don't see we haven't seen any slowdown. I did not get a chance to go to the Summer Fun Show. I don't know if anyone else did. I had some personal issues I had to deal with that weekend, so I was planning on going, wasn't able to. Normally do go. Did anyone get to the Summer Fun Show?
I did not, unfortunately.
No. It's interesting though, because we just I was telling Dustin when it was just me and him in the room in the beginning, we had our summer seminar, which we've had since, I don't know, 60 years now. Every summer people come to Colorado Springs to learn about collecting. And we've hit our biggest numbers ever the past 2 years. This year we had more people than we've ever had. We had more kids than we've ever had. And it's interesting to look at the state of the market and things. And, I did an interview with Jeff Garrett and Seth Chandler. They sat down and were talking about how they started on scholarships at Summer Seminar when they were 16 years old. That was their first introduction. Wow. And then they became coin dealers, and then they come back and they teach at Summer Seminar, and they serve on the board of the ANA. And we see this common cycle a lot of, you were given us a chance to study coins for free for 2 weeks, and it changes your life in some way, right? And we had more kids this year. We had we had over 50 kids come this year out to Colorado Springs and open themselves out to that experience. And one thing that both Jeff and Seth said, and this, I interviewed them right before Fun, so I don't know how Fun fulfilled or didn't fulfill their prediction, but they were talking about how everything is trending for more and more among collectors. Like, everything is pushing for shows being bigger and experiences being bigger and learning being bigger. And it's just that momentum right now is, really taking off. Even in the 3 years I've been with the ANA, I can see a momentous difference between the exact same people coming to coin shows, Summer Seminar. They all know each other. We've done this before. Hey, high five, buddy. How are you? And now we have all of this new interest. And like you said, with Heritage, I think it does cut across different collectible areas. For whatever reason, the culture, the economy, society right now, collectibles and coin collecting is hot. Super hot. So that's what I'm seeing from like the nonprofit collecting world.
That Christian, the summer program, is that capped at 20?
No. So our summer seminar has 2 weeks. You can do 1 week or both weeks. Each week you take a class, and we offer about 20 different classes each week. So we end up with about 500 people coming out the summer seminar. Yeah. It's on the campus of Colorado College. You can stay in a Colorado College dorm room, which I'm not selling that to anybody. But, some people, they call it coin camp, and they've been doing this they'll get up and they'll be like, this is my 38th year, and I've taken every class, and now I'm taking advanced grading for the third time, right? Because it is that kind of community that it builds. It's an incredible thing. I always tell people it's the most symbiotic experience I think I've ever experienced in the world of education, because even if the ANA didn't put it on, the people would come. It's like the Field of Dreams, right? It's like, if you build it, they will come. Like, they're going to be there in Colorado, like, where are my classes? What are you doing? I don't understand, but it does. We are able to offer scholarships. We do an auction each week, a summer seminar. And all of the money in the auction goes to young numismatist scholarships for the next year. So we've been able to pay for every kid who applies to come out. If they're under a certain age, it pays for their parent to come out with them. And so it's actually the model that things like Witter U are based on. Witter obviously deals with 20 kids and has a different model, and it is kid totally focused, etc. But it's people coming together and just sharing their love of coins and taking these classes. And all the instructors do it for free. So we have, from Heritage, Jim Stouchesteik does a grading class. Jeff Garrett does a grading class. So we have these people who come out, and people just, Ken Brissett is a roving instructor. So people just want to meet people. They can meet these great big names in the industry.
It must be so rewarding for them as well to give back. There's no better feeling than to be able to do that. The individuals that you just mentioned, like Ken and Jeff, they've been in the industry for so long, they've done very well, and now they can pass that knowledge on to a new generation, and it's just that's so rewarding, I'm sure, for them, and that's why they just keep coming back. And it's a fantastic thing that you guys do there at the ANA. So thank you for that, because we need.
Of course, 100%. The giving back fulfills them more. They're all part. We're doing a video series now called Aristotle's Vault, where we're trying to preserve knowledge of older numismatists, because we know in the numismatic world, we see this constant loop of you become an expert, you spend 87 years, then you pass away, and all that's left is the fragments you gave to other people. So we're doing a video series online where we're preserving all these voices. I started with Ken Brissett. Last month I did Don Kagan. And so we're trying to hit people who, I don't want to say are old, but are in, they've got maybe 20 years left most, that we want to preserve that whole life experience. Ken Brissett sits and talks about knowing B. Max Mell and William Sheldon and taking photos of William Sheldon's coin collection, and there's no one else alive who can tell you that story. He's 97. There's no one else that's going to. So we've really taken that to heart, and we do see that giving back, which I think is so special in the numismatic world, because most of these numismatists, somebody gave them something or a chance as a kid for free, and they're like, I've got to pay it back. And they do 100-fold.
Yeah. Fantastic. So since we have two Davids, if you don't mind, David Donahue, I'll call you Dave, and sure. Mr. LeBlanc, we'll say David, just so we don't get confused.
Good, I've been called worse.
Yeah. So Dave, how has it been with your business, with your books? You create some beautiful holders for coins.
Yeah, both the one I tried showing earlier.
Could you put that up again? I really didn't get a chance to see it. Yeah. Yep. Nice.
So coins of the Charlotte Mint, again, just showing this one real quick. It's a typeset of coins made by the old Charlotte Mint, which most numismatists know that it's a purely gold coin set. Starting with the $1 piece, the 2.5, the 5s. They never did a 10, they never did a 20 because they were not given presses big enough to strike those coins. They were sent dies for a $3 piece, but they never used them, as far as we know. So a Charlotte typeset consists of 7 coins, which is kind of cool. And sure enough, I'm imagining that there's going to be someone out there crazy enough that's going to want to fill this book. And that's why I made it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
More than one person. There's the people that love the Charlotte Mint. They just like the Loniga Mint. They absolutely have to have them. That's a fantastic product that you have there.
Now,
love it.
Bouncing. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm done.
Oh, I think I'm back. Am I good, guys?
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using a whole different computer, so don't mind me. And my phone just is overheating. 6 faces on the screen is insane. Well, 5.5, I guess Christopher's here. Yeah, Christopher, can you hear us? He was having problems with audio. We were seeing. Christopher.
I can hear you guys fine. Can you all hear me?
Yes. Okay, good.
Awesome.
All right.
There we go. We got there.
All right. Yes. Let's get into it, guys. Thanks for holding the fort there, John. Appreciate it. Yeah. So we're getting into some things around assets. I wanted to kind of touch bases on like everybody's outlook on like the I know market. We touched on that a little bit, but yeah, I mean like interest and demand obviously are kind of a huge play that's happening right now more than ever. Obviously 250's really been knocking on the door. And hearing from Christian about having more interest over the year, and especially children and the younger the YNs joining the hobby. um, what's your guys's, and we'll just pass it down to everybody to get everyone's take on like what does that look like for you? Like, is there more interest? Is there the same type of people? The demographic, is it, you know are you having to educate people a bit more, or like what's that take? We'll start with going from right to left here. John, actually, let's go with John first. What's your take, John?
Well, yeah, I mean, we touched on that a little bit, and
I missed that.
as our guest has mentioned, the interest is there and it's increasing. I don't see any slowdown in sight. This is a special year for numismatics, being the semi-quincentennial. The Mint is producing some absolutely beautiful pieces that have the specifications that will only be for this year. So that's very, very exciting. And being in a dealer that, we have a lot of customers that want everything that the Mint is producing, specifically with dual dates for this year. And so as far as slowdown or increasing, definitely an increase. Demographics, I see we have a lot of a younger demographic. If we go back, 5-10 years ago, our client base was like 60 and up, let's say, and now that's really changed a lot. I mean, we have customers in their 30s, which I wouldn't have predicted 10 years ago. And I contribute a lot of that to other collectibles that draw people into the world of collectibles. So like, what you do, Dustin, like Pokemon cards or Magic the Gathering cards, things of that nature. Of course, comic books, other kinds of collectibles. It's just good all around for the industry. And I just see that increasing over time.
Yeah, definitely can see some parallels, and people that are, maybe have taken their tech stocks and move them into other assets. So I can see that moving into numismatics, precious metals. There's just a lot of money on the table for the stock market or even crypto. So I can see, and then the trading cards. So I can see there's a lot of crossroads there. LeBlanc, how's your personnel coaching going, and what's that look like?
Yeah, no, things are very steady, and I think we saw, at least I did, certainly a spike, I would say, last fall when prices started to go up significantly, and of course that generated a lot of media attention from mainstream to specialty YouTube channels and things like that, and that just helps to get the word out. Everyday people were all of a sudden, had the FOMO, right? Oh, I need to get in, I need to buy in, and they were paying pretty high prices at the time. But the nice thing is, whether good or bad, that introduced people for whatever reason to the subject matter of gold and silver. And, I always say to people, you need to understand, what do you want them to do for you? Like, what is your goal, as opposed to just going out and having FOMO and then being disappointed maybe today when it's down around $56 and you bought at 110. So, I think that's a lesson learned for a lot of people. When the price is up, people tend to buy, and then when it's low, they tend to sell. It's the opposite of really what we're supposed to be doing, right? So human nature is a funny thing. But at the end of the day, my perspective is gold and silver is an investment second. It's real money first. And for me, it's one of the best places to trade up fiat dollars if you're looking to preserve your wealth, if you're looking to protect your purchasing power. And I think that kind of message is starting to resonate with more and more people, because investing in general, for I would say the average person, is a scary, fearful thing. And that's why, unfortunately, they relegate it to advisors who, again, they're often disappointed with. So people taking more control of their finances through physical precious metals and other means is a good thing. I like the conversation about collectibles because, it's a bit of a gateway to precious metals, because as people, as kids, we all collected something, whether it was hockey cards or Mexican jumping beans or whatever it was. And so we have that ingrained. I know you had some, Dustin. I know I did too.
Yeah.
We all had a collection of some type, and then we became a teen. We thought that was dumb, and then we got rid of it. And then later in life, we're like, oh, I miss collecting something. And of course, as an adult, what's better to collect than gold and silver and platinum, right? So, and then as people start to do that these days, they want to know more about it, and then they start to learn about, oh, this is what it is. Most people come at it as an investment, but like I say, I always try to get them to look at it like it's money first, and it's a real hard asset, and it's a way to protect yourself, especially during these times, because now we're starting to see inflation start to go up again. I'm not going to say we had a lull. It just hasn't been as prevalent as, say, it was last year, a couple of years ago. But we're now heading into a period where we're going to see oil prices start to go up again. They're trying to keep the price of oil down, because when the price of oil goes up, interest rates go up. They're trying to keep rates down, but they're going to lose that fight. And we're going to see oil and silver and gold really start to go up in value over the next few years. But again, that's from the investment angle, from a protect my wealth, protect my purchasing power, and hold real asset side of things. There's never a bad time to buy gold and silver. And for me, lastly, I'm seeing more and more people, and maybe you guys are too, of grandma wants to sell her silverware, or grandma has a gold coin. I wonder what it's worth. Or people rooting through their basement boxes looking for some sterling silver, where that's an old silverware set or something. So we're getting to the point where, people realize that, there could be some hidden, unlocked wealth there, and they're interested in maybe seeing what it could be worth.
Wow, that's valid. Yeah, there's resurgence of interest. Definitely collecting in general. Yeah, exactly. It just kind of gets your mind moving and thinking about how it was when you were a kid. Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel too. I got older. I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to get back into collecting something. So luckily I didn't get rid of everything, but yeah, my parents were like, these are, need this. I'm like, 20 years later, maybe you should have kept it. So, all right, Christian, how's it going on your side? I know there's a lot going on with education. And,
yeah, I already talked a little bit about the interest and how we're seeing kind of an uptick in interest, if nothing else. We started the Young Numismatics of America, which is a coin club for kids online virtually. They meet the first Friday of every month. We started that last year in March with less than 30 kids, and we now are over 130 kids. So we have over 130 kids from 34 different states, 3 different countries. And they have released their own publication, printed publication. They do a monthly publication you can access on our website. But they wrote a grant and got their first printed publication. And then they're doing a fundraiser where you can donate $50 and get a copy of their publication. They only made 200, right? So they're using the collector's angle of, if you want one of the 200 copies of this amazing new club, and they're using that to do their next printed publication. So they're turning the money over, but they create their own presentations. They do their own research. We've built a solid base of mentors for them. So people we can connect them with who are experts in the field that will help guide their research and things like that. So we're seeing kids be really excited about the collecting aspect. I see really two aspects from the kids: those that want to be dealers and those that really just love coin collecting and may deal, and those that are dealers are definitely, that want to be dealers, are kind of different priorities. So amongst the kids themselves, you're balancing, if we do a drawing this month for a coin, half of them are going to be like, how much can I sell it for to make a profit on this free thing I got? The other half are going to be like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever, building my collection, So we try to meet the needs of both groups and just provide education for them. But their club is totally self-led. I'm their adult advisor. Obviously, all communication goes through me, but I let the president, vice president, secretary run the meetings, run everything. I'm just there for safety purposes, and they are so impressive. I think I've made this statement before on this podcast. If not, I should have, which is that the numismatists are the best students in the world because they're passionate about what they do. So as a teacher, there's no going wrong. I could make the most boring lesson plan in the world, and they're still going to be like, sucking up the information because they want the information. They're invested in that. And so what I think we're seeing in the world of education is that as lesson plans and opportunities and videos that I've mentioned are becoming more dynamic and more engaging, we're pulling in people who are kind of like sideline numismatists, right? Before, you had to be really obsessed with coins to make it through this book, right? Like you had to be really obsessed to read about every variety of Roman, die or whatever. And now we're seeing people who are like, wow, this is really cool. Look at these images. Oh, we're picking that up because we're making our education more accessible to different people, to youth and to older people. One of the trends we do see that David mentioned was we too see, I was a collector until I was 14. I discovered my job, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Life hit me. I went to college. I had kids. Kids went to college, and I was like, oh, I love coins. Let me go back to my coins. So we are trying, I think, in the future to really work towards seeing how we can support people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s to continue their education, not to have this 20 to 30 year gap in a way that takes less time, maybe is more bite size. So that way it's kind of a whole life journey.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so you guys have kind of like a access point for the younger children, and then maybe more advanced learning. Is there different programs for for adults?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, what's interesting though is, and I think all of you in this room perhaps were young numismatists or interested at least in coins as kids. Young numismatists are able to do adult level work when it comes to coins.
Oh, wow.
Right? It's not, here, you need to trace this, quarter, and, oh, what's on it? It's an eagle. Why is it an eagle? I mean, yes, there are kids that need that. But once they hit 11, we're seeing 11, 12, they're at an adult level with numismatics. I'm going to say 75% are able to take our adult online courses because, again, they're passionate about it. They're informed about it. They may know more in their areas of specialty than adults know because they've researched it and they love it and they've immersed themselves. So we see, we offer an entry point for kids. Any kid can be a member of the ANA for free for a year, period, by submitting their report card. And we're actually changing that program in October. Doesn't matter. You can still get your free 1-year membership. Decide if coin collecting's for you. Then see this group that aren't going to be numismatists. They inherited a collection. What do I do with this? I don't want to get ripped off. What do? I don't know what I have. I went to a dealer and he said, oh, it's only worth melt. How do I, no, it's not. It's worth more than melt. Please don't melt or clean anything, right? And so those people, we have a dealer directory where you can go and find a trusted dealer who is in our directory, because they will tell you fair price. They'll give you a history of your coins. But those people aren't really going to become numismatists 90% of the time. They want to know, how do I make this liquid? How do I, this is not my life. It was my grandfather's life. And then we see those people who come back around. And we've built a lot of our programming for them as well. 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, we've had people have success. And we really do that gateway through our Introduction to Numismatics course. So that course in particular is good, even if you're a numismatist, because it links you to all the modern research, museum exhibits, all that stuff. It's also good, though, if you're kind of dipping your toes back in, as a good starting place. And then from there, people can specialize. We offer specialized courses as well.
Yeah,
Christian, one thing that I find that can fill the gap between, you said you get to 14 and you start collecting girlfriends rather than, Pokemon cards or boyfriends, is I find myself actually backing up the bus a little bit and talking about precious metals more in terms of just good financial habits, financial literacy, because I have some clients who come to me, say, with $10,000-$15,000 worth of credit card debt. I'm like, precious metals are not right for you right now. Don't buy them. Deal with that first. So one way maybe to fill that gap from that 14-year-old to that 34-year-old, I find could be, having a module or having something on good financial practices, good financial habits, because coins and rounds are not just collectibles. They're also part of a sound financial, health of an individual and their family. And of course, we're not taught that in school, and our parents aren't really teaching us that because they weren't taught. So it'd be interesting maybe to, if that was introduced as part of your teachings, especially to the young children, of how gold and silver and platinum can form part of good financial habits, like taking 5 to 10% of your earnings, whether you're cutting grass or you're a CEO, putting it aside, maybe in gold and silver.
Yeah, we've definitely talked about financial literacy. Our organization goes back and forth. I'm a huge proponent of it. I was a high school history teacher for years. I taught economics. It used to be back in the day where you had to know how to write a check. Not quite as much necessary now. It still is necessary, but how do you do that? How do you balance your checkbook? Kids don't know. People don't know. Adults don't know. And so there's a balance between that and us being a coin collecting organization. But I do think it's a good bridge to that, especially kids in college. You're making a car payment, you're making tuition payments, you're taking out student loans. How do you do that and manage and prepare yourself for the future and be a collector or an investor?
Yeah. All right. All right, Donahue.
So,
sorry, Chris. Sorry, Chris. We'll get to you in a second.
All good.
Thanks. All right, Donahue.
So I've kind of seen a little bit of what's been talked about already. And I'm kind of thinking back to when I started at a local coin shop about 11 years ago. And there's always young kids coming in, sporadically, maybe a couple times a week. And I don't think there's ever going to be a shortage of collectors. I think what the hobby really needs is, people like us, like Ken Brissett, willing to give back and having the patience to give back and ensure that the hobby keeps going. I think that's the biggest thing. I've also seen people my age, older, et cetera, who inherit a collection. They're looking for the best way to get rid of it. I've seen people coming in looking to make a quick buck, and they're not interested in the collecting aspect. And, those can be some of the most challenging people to work with because, they just want that quick buck. They don't care about the history of the coin, and it's a little challenging. But I always recommend taking a look at the collecting side. Someone posts a coin wondering how much it's worth, and my go-to response is, that's a great album coin. Not just because I'm trying to sell my albums, but really because I want to see people get into it. Fill that book, fill that collection, however, and learn more about this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now going back to when I started years ago, like we had collectors as young as 3 years old that were coming in picking up coins because they were shiny, they were cool, and then they grew with the hobby. And now 11 years later, I'm seeing these same kids grow into young adults, and it's kind of touching to see, like, one, they're still with it, but also see them grow as people. And that's really cool to be kind of part of that story.
Yeah, it's good to be able to navigate people. And then it's interesting that these people are getting these errors of the coins and then be able to, possibly turn them into a long life collector, and they don't even know what they have. Like, that's a chance to educate them, or give them a reason to keep these coins, because they're family heirlooms, or yes, they could have some value behind it, but like, there's sentiment behind that too as well. So, having that ability to be like, hey, this is something to possibly keep for many reasons, rather than just selling or even just holding on to them a little bit longer. That's interesting. Yeah, it's and then what you do for work, your work is fantastic. So I love what you do. Good to hear your take, Christopher. Thanks for waiting for us. That was a long
Sure. None. Thanks for bearing with me through some technical difficulties.
No problem.
No, a lot of a lot of what folks are saying it resonates with different parts of what I do, from the sort of financial literacy standpoint that David was talking about, and how precious metals and tangible assets fit into a balanced portfolio, and ultimately what to do. And this also touches on something that Christian was talking about too, with how to disperse these assets, whatever they may be, whether it's bullion, collectible material, or anything else. A huge part of my job is helping to, and the company I work for, Doyle Auctions. Big part of what we do is we guide folks to making good decisions, not only in terms of how to disperse material, but in terms of what to buy. We a big part of cataloging material for sale is introducing it to an audience of people who, many of whom are primed to appreciate it because they have done their homework, they might be very experienced. But it's also important to be able to explain, not only to prospective sellers, but even in a catalog description, what makes this coin interesting, and what makes it worth being cataloged and sold at auction. So, these are things that I meditate on a lot. And actually, as a side note, I attended the ANA Summer Seminar this year and thought it was fantastic. It was really a top-notch experience. So for whatever weight my endorsement carries, I had a really great experience. But the education element is also part of what I do. Folks come in with collections from their grandparents, from aunts and uncles, from extended family, from generous friends, however that works. And and a lot of that, and they often don't know. They often don't know what they have, and that's not a knock on them in any way. It's an obscure topic. There's not necessarily a reason that any layperson should know. And so part of my job that I really enjoy is explaining to people what they have and being able to share interesting anecdotes and tell stories about material and to help them understand better what they have. Which sometimes I've actually had people, and I don't say this to be self-aggrandizing, but I've had folks say, "Wow, we just want to keep hanging out here and talking about coins and history." And those are my favorite clients because it's personally gratifying. But it does underscore the fact that education and storytelling are central facets of every part of numismatics, and certainly working for an auction house and running a coin and collectibles department, these are things I think about every day, and these are sort of practices, thinking about it from an education and storytelling standpoint. Those are things that I try to bring into my practice every day. And, we're certainly all learning, and that's part of what I love about it. So, and then there's also a whole financial literacy component, which, we have an entire estate and trust division, which exists to, help advise people about the best way to dispose of estates and things like that. So, no, so much of what you all are talking about is, that reflects central elements of my day-to-day work.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad that you mentioned about storytelling, because that's what we talk about a lot with John. Is that storytelling is just really what kind of makes the magic. It gives it that kind of province, and the story behind it gives you that like personal connection to the coins themselves. That to me is like everything. And it's like almost having like a mission statement essentially behind these coins. The history is just so fascinating. Having something that's passed through many hands, or even shipwrecks, or through wars and through countries, and being able to survive, and even in its condition at times, it really goes to show like the value, society or humans or people in general, like being able to like keep and preserve these, coins over time. Like it's like people are at families' errors or even bloodshed to be able to have these coins. The history behind that is just it's amazing to even last, especially a lot of coins in the early 1900s getting melted back. So a lot of those early key date coins, are not even existent because of that. So it's nice to see that you can have a coin in your pocket and essentially it's seen, the world turn around many centuries, sometimes.
But that's the difference between, say, like a gold coin or silver bar and like fiat dollars, right? I have a lot of clients who say buy like a 1 ounce gold coin to recognize, say, maybe a special anniversary or a birth or a wedding or something, right? And of course, you attach memories and you attach sentiment and you attach your own personal story to that. You can go back into your collection and pull out that gold bar you bought when you were married and think, remember I bought that when we were married. And how often can you say that when you open up your wallet and pull out a $50 bill or $100 bill? You don't, because you don't attach any sentiment to fiat dollars because they're not a hard, tangible asset, right? So that's another kind of aspect that maybe we don't talk about too much, is the emotional aspect of owning something real, whether it's Pokemon cards or precious metals. You maybe you remember where you bought it, maybe the context in which you acquired it, and it just adds to that extra level of value besides the monetary value.
100%. Sentiment goes a long way. I mean, it's the nature of collecting, and that in itself could be for many reasons. It's maybe it could be a way to protect ourselves, or a way to kind of insulate ourselves from the world as a child, or even just the ability to have educators or family members or someone educating them to collect, and seeing that for themselves. So there's many ways that we navigate in this world, and a lot of times collecting is a way to keep us like in our child form, be able to enjoy the piece of world that we have, and there's monetary value behind that. So,
and just on a very practical level, I know I have some clients who will say take a portion, or say they have a side hustle, let's go with that, and they take every dollar, say they earn from that side hustle, and they'll buy maybe a 10 ounce silver bar or a 1/4 ounce gold coin, whatever the value is. And the reason for that is because it recognizes the work that you've done in the past. Because often we'll get dollars, we'll get paid direct deposit into our digital bank account, and it gets frittered away on some Starbucks coffees and maybe a movie and a dinner out, and then that project I did a couple of months ago, what happened to that money? It's gone. It's gone, right? But when you have, again, we're talking a little bit about financial literacy. When you store it into something tangible, it's like, oh, right, there's the money that I earned from that project 2 months ago, and maybe it's a 10 ounce silver bar, right? So I find that's a really interesting practical habit, and obviously all the other benefits of doing that. You can actually go back and say, oh yeah, there's the money I earned, way back when. It's still here in my hand. And in fact, it's still holding its value. And that's the other thing. Lastly, it's out of respect for the work that you performed in the past. It's your job to make sure that you don't disrespect yourself by holding it into fiat dollars. You respect yourself by holding the value of your labor that you performed in the past in something that's going to retain that value.
That's a great point. I had this conversation literally the other night with my girlfriend. Even when I leave the office, I go home and I have coins that I look through, and I have a few boxes I needed to go through, and I'm going, and just going through. So a lot of them were foreign, so it takes a little more time. And but I was just particularly looking for the silver out of these boxes of coins. And so I had a few stacks there, and she's like, "Well, what are you going to do with that?" And I'm like, "I'm going to put it with the other." She's like, "Well, why not convert that just into money and we'll do something?" I was like, "Well, that's exactly why I don't want to do that, because as soon as I convert that into fiat dollars, I'm going to spend it and not know what I did with it. Whereas if I just put it aside, I could pull it out in a year or whenever, and it's still there, and it's still a store of value for me. Whereas that money is long gone, So that's a great point.
All right, we're at the hour point. I wanted to take some time if you guys need to step away for a second. So I was going to have time for our sponsor and read some questions from the community. Let's see. Pull this up here. So if you guys haven't checked out FastChecks.io is our sponsor. If you guys are in the dinosaur ages with checks, we mentioned that earlier. That does take a long time to get access to a lot of these purchases. E-checks are obviously much faster on, kind of, being able to, kind of cut the fees when it comes to transactions if you're using, PayPal or, stuff like that. So if you want to make a big deal and don't want to write an old check, in 2026, you can print yourself an e-check using fastchecks.io. They're free to use. You can sign up for multiple e-checks on the monthly subscription, which is $30 a month. And you can send yourself some e-checks and make those transactions happen really fast. Obviously, deals are happening left and right. A lot of money on the table. And you don't want to send a check that takes 5 days to clear in the mail across the country. It's just not going to work. It may work, but it's just not as efficient. So definitely check fastchecks.io. That's our sponsor today. I'm going to put that on the screen right here. That is fastchecks.io. Appreciate from our sponsors. And we're going to answer some questions from our community as well. We've seen this, Mr. New Face. The prices for the mint are outrageous. They're outrageous. Yeah, the prices are a bit high, but there's a demand and collector aspect and game theory attached to it. I totally understand it, being in different financial systems and hobbies, how that works. So a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, I understand, but at the same time, you definitely want to give more access, but maybe some restrictions help for a price increase. So definitely, I see where they're going. And
but just on that for a second, just before you move away from that, you just triggered something in my head. What is the real true price of, say, silver, for example? We don't really know what that true price is because it's been manipulated for over 150 years. So
sure,
we don't know what it is until the manipulation stops and the true market value of supply and demand hits it, right? And what I'm seeing some dealers are doing, they're doing it by premiums, right? So because the manipulated COMEX price isn't keeping up with the true value, they're just increasing their premiums to kind of make up the difference. And maybe that's getting closer to the true price, but we don't even really know what it is.
That's a good point.
That's valid. Yeah. I mean, JP Morgan definitely manipulated the silver for quite a bit. And, gold to fiat ratio has significantly increased in the last 30 years. Who creates the price? Stock market? Is it physical demand? Is it, based on, creating the coins themselves? Like, is U.S. purchasing it directly from suppliers to make it more, less accessible from public demand or public access. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many elements. Countries are using it for AI or chip manufacturing, silver. Yeah,
So,
it's
so the best thing I tell people is to not worry about the price too much. Just buy it when you can.
yeah, it's a finite. There's so much. There's so many. There's so much. The engineering or the manufacturing or the processes of creating precious metals in general, and then the coins themselves on top of that. It's just like, it's just, yeah, for anyone to think that a price to be manipulated is the real answer, you're going to always lose. Like you just have to obtain it somehow, like just a small allocation, if anything. Protecting your wealth is most important. And like you said, LeBlanc, is that, yeah, I mean, it's like, in my mind, it's like a battery. Like, energy is pretty much what we fight for, our time and energy, and having that equated into precious metals or numismatic coins, collectibles, kind of across the board, it preserves that wealth, and you're able to see what efforts you put into it. So yes, that's how fiat currency is, but it's eroded and it's constantly printed, and we don't know how many fiat dollars are available. US and other countries are having the printers just going with quantitative easing. It just, we don't know when that is going to stop. Obviously never, until we find another monetary system that works. And obviously precious metals and collectibles and everything across the board is like, everyone's flocking into that because they know and understand inflation's real, and it's definitely a lot more than 10% I've seen, and across like food and gas, power, oil. You can't deny that. So having somewhere to park your wealth or efforts into is important. So I think you really touched on that, LeBlanc, and I do.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And silver, like fiat dollars, the price is set at a keyboard at a terminal somewhere. It's really just at the whim of whoever's at that keyboard, and that's why Keith Neumeier, president of was it First Majestic, he's talking about it's time for the silver miners, particularly, to maybe band together to start getting a more true price, right? Which would obviously be higher than what it is today, to avoid the manipulation. So just imagine if the silver miners started to band together, because of course, with the demand of silver and its use to society as an industrial metal, that could be a significant impact.
Wow, like an OPEC, but for silver.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Yeah, it'd be like a union or something. It's interesting to see. Yeah, I mean, they might as well, like, at this point, like, there's just a lot of moving parts, and you got these people, and there's so much demand, you might as well band together and create. I mean, it's conflicting if it's like some type of conglomerate, but if it's like private companies, per se, that might be a better way to go about it. Yeah, so we only got the one question. There's so many questions that we have from the community, but I'm not sure what he was saying. Also, short snorters. What's the emotion behind those? I don't.
Those are really cool. Like, those were World War II mostly, when people would, especially in the Pacific Theater, they were going to all these different nations and taking home strips of currency from those different nations, and oftentimes they would tape them together to make the long stretch. But the really cool thing about those is soldiers, they would write their names, addresses, and sometimes phone numbers if they had them on those notes, so after the war they could stay in touch with each other. Now here we are, the 2010s, 2020s, and short snorters are still around. But what a lot of the old vets are now trying to do is they look at the short snorters and they try using social media to find their old fellows from their unit. And it's really cool when it gets into that.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, I
they're
think
incredible. Sorry, Curtin.
No, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I was going to say quickly, an absolutely fascinating area. I personally collect short snorters, absolutely love them. The Short Snorter Project is a website you all should check out. Like, it's a really interesting resource on short snorters. And on a purely personal note, my grandfather was a commander in the Navy in World War II, and my favorite short snorter is one that a number of his sailors who served under him signed over to him on, I believe, VJ Day. It's dated August. I forget the exact date. It's in a safe somewhere. August 1945. So I absolutely love short snorters, and there's one in my collection that I will never part with for any amount of money because it has such deep emotional meaning to me.
Yeah, guys, check them out. Shortsnorter.org. Appreciate it. Ernesto. Very interesting. But yeah, let's get into the conversation. I know I wanted to touch a little bit about where Christopher's at, because you're not to say you're an anomaly, but you definitely add a different sector to where the hobby is, and you kind of oversee a little bit different than some of us. Maybe you have access to different things. Is there anything that's like really kind of like becoming an anomaly that maybe now is more prevalent, that's when it comes to like access of coins, or like heirs, passing down coins to their children? Like, how does that look like for you? Like, how does that look like for you?
Sure. Well, so I'll lean into the storytelling theme, and I'll give you I'll tell you a story of my job interview at Doyle. It's a fun story. I've been interviewing for the job over a period of time, and they asked for writing sample. Okay, I've written quite a number of things over the course of my numismatic life, and then they sent me a picture of a Panama Pacific International Exposition set, and they said, how would you approach cataloging this? And I was like, okay, well, sure. So I sat down and I actually I wrote part of the Mega Red Odd Denominations volume. I wrote the historical narratives for that book, and anyone who knows the Panama Pacific International Expo set knows that it contains multiple odd denominations: the octagonal and round 50s, the gold dollar, and it's not precisely an odd denomination, but it's the commemorative 250, the gold denomination. But there are essentially two. There's essentially two odd denoms. The $50. There are two $50 in each set, but it's the same denomination, and then the gold dollar. So I'd written those narratives. So I'd done a lot of research on the Panama Pacific International Expo. So I thought, oh great, I happen to know something about this. Let's put it out there. And I was then told, oh no, we have this. You just wrote our catalog for it. So, I was like, oh, that's good to know. Because, I thought it was a fairly good catalog and, reasonably good. And I thought it conveyed some of the appropriate historical detail and all that. But the incredible thing about the set, and the reason that I bring it up in answer to your question, beyond just the fact that it's incredibly cool to find, it was a fully intact set with the original box, both 50s. And it had been in the same South Carolina family. It had been in the same estate since the World's Fair. One of their forebears had attended the fair in 1915, bought the whole set, and it had remained in the family up until 2025, when it came out of the woodwork. And I mean, to find a raw, intact fan pack set, as any experienced dealer or auctioneer knows, that is unheard of. Those don't come out very often at all. They're incredibly rare. So that story to me kind of underscores the fact that there are still great items in private collections, even if the folks who inherit them don't necessarily know what they have, right? And this is not a knock on the family that consigned it remotely. This is just to say that, like, a set like that, some people, the numismatically uninitiated, if you will, might look at that and say, oh, well, isn't that interesting? Those are really cool. They might not understand, oh, these two $50 coins, they're like a few hundred known. And it's the first octagonal product from the U.S. Mint, and it has this amazing connection to gold rush history and the octagonal slugs from the early 1850s in San Francisco. And there are so many different directions you can take that from a storytelling perspective. But then there's also the story of the collectors themselves, and it was really, really cool. And so it underscored to me the fact that being at an auction house, I'm paraphrasing the tagline to Pawn Stars here, and but you really don't know what's going to come in on any given day. I've gotten emails, and again, I know this is absolutely true for you folks who have coin shops or who run coin businesses more broadly, is that you never know what's going to come through the door, and someone will send you a photo of a Lincoln cent that they should use to buy 1/1,000,000th of a cup of coffee at Starbucks, or they'll send you a coin that's worth $100,000. And it's sort of exciting to wake up and look at your email and to see who's coming in and to see what you see. So and that excitement is part of what makes the job so exciting and so fun and so engaging. And I don't know if that answered your question, but that's what your question brought to mind.
Yeah, and that's exactly something that's an anomaly that you don't see often. That's what I always think is like these collections that are just sitting in some vault or some error, and then a century goes by, and then their children are like, well, maybe I want to get rid of it, and they're like, what is this? And you're like, whoa, this is crazy. I can only assume that happens. We've talked to appraisers. It's this similar, kind of sentiment is that you really don't know what's going to be, what you're going to see next. So that's surprising, and that's exciting. That I would think of any business or hobby is, you want to learn more, and you're excited to do what you're doing. So I like to hear that take.
And I'm seeing more and more of that these days too, with people inheriting collections. Just as time goes by, that's going to happen. One thing that I recommend to people do, because they often say, well, what can I do? Right? I know nothing about coins. Like, I don't want this. And that's totally fine. Not everyone's into it. But we do have the value of a lot of information at our fingertips. So, before you go into a coin dealer, preferably coin dealer, not like a pawn shop, because a pawn shop likely won't give you as much because they just don't know as much about it. Do a little research and understand what you do have, right? And then maybe make a list of how much of what you have. So when you do go into the coin dealer, because they're going to have to catalog it, they're going to have to take it all apart. They're going to have to sort it out. And all you're doing is saving them a lot of time, and time is money. And there's a little better chance that you may get a little bit more by doing that than just walking in with a pillowcase or a bucket full of stuff. And the poor person at the coin shop will have to, they may tell you to come back a week or 2 weeks later because they got to sort through it. Or they may say, forget it, I'm so not interested because I'm going to have to spend a week doing that. So, and this way, knowledge is power. If you have a bit of an idea of what you have, then you're a little less at risk of not getting scammed, but you'll get a bit more full value for your collection.
I'd like to add a little bit to what Chris was starting to say, as well as David here. Within the last couple of months, I kind of had this theory pop up in my head about what else might be hiding in the woodworks as far as old collections that we might not even know about yet, or even pieces that we hope to exist. And the center point of my theory was the San Francisco Mint's second building, 1870, and the ceremony around the laying of the cornerstone. Now, we know that a whole set of coins was made for that cornerstone, and that cornerstone is now lost to history, at least for now. But we also know that there's about a dozen silver dollars that came out of that ceremony. We know from that year there is a second $3 gold piece that was submitted as like a wedding gift somewhere, I think New Hampshire or something like that. That's the one 1870 US $3 gold piece we know about. And we also know about an 1870 US half dime that just randomly appeared in 1978, coming into like a local shop. And it went through a rigorous authentication process before being offered up for sale. And we know where that coin has gone since. So I kind of started developing this theory that what if the ceremony in San Francisco was an invitation-based ceremony where people were allowed to come in. But on top of that, if you wanted to take home a souvenir, you could write back to the mint at the time saying, hey, I'd like to get this to bring home with me. And that's how the halftime came about. And this is how other coins from that ceremony or similar situations could potentially come about in the future. And we know that the mint did not keep the best records at that time.
Okay. Interesting.
I think that's also why hoards are so interesting when they discover hoards. I was talking to Don Kagan a couple weeks ago about the Saddle Ridge hoard, and when he was given that, him and David McCarthy were given that to go through and look at, and all the new varieties, that they saw for the first time. It's the first time that variety had actually. What, did it exist until then? I guess it's like a tree falling in the woods, right? It doesn't exist until you find one. But I also recently did a video series with Jim Carr. He does early American copper coins, and he was talking about how maybe 10 years ago, there was this guy who brought in his early American coppers and was showing him, and Jim's like, oh, these are authentic. These are real. What? Guy's passed away since. No idea what happened to the coins. Like, he didn't have any family. So there's no, and he was like, there were some of the nicest, coolest EACs I've ever seen in there. Maybe in 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, somebody will pop in and be like, I found these somewhere. Someone left these in an attic, or these were whatever. And I think that's a really exciting aspect of collecting, especially for, someone like me who is a newer numismatist, and you look at it and I go to a show and I'm like, everybody knows every coin that's out there. And you can see major dealers who are like, oh, I've owned that one. Oh yeah, I sold that one to him and he sold it to him. And he's, the provenance is there. It's exciting to think that there are still those coins out there that have an entirely new story, which is something that's really pretty cool about collecting, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think we'll be seeing more of that kind of product and those kinds of items coming to see the light of day. As you were mentioning earlier, Christian, as the baby boomers and that generation are at the twilights of their lives, things that have just been literally in the dark for decades and decades and decades will hopefully come to light. And with that, there'll be some phenomenal items that just have not been seen before, or only written about or talked about in past books or letters. So that to me is exciting. I love the treasure hunt aspect of this business. Always have since day one. And it's you never know. Like you never know what's going to come through that door. So it's exciting.
Well, and there's also a theory. About the current generation. There's a sub generation between X and Y called Zennials. I'm a Zennial. We're in our early to mid 40s, and in that particular generation, our childhood was the only stable time of our life. So from that moment, everything changed. I used a 5-inch floppy disk. I used a 3-inch floppy disk. I used DOS and Windows, and learned how, so every moment of my life, from the time I'm about 8 years old, I went from Atari to Nintendo. And it's like, if you're born between 76 and 84 is kind of there. And but the point is that this generation especially seeks nostalgia, because it is the only time in their life where the memory of the Smurfs or of the Care Bears or of Transformers or of Star Wars is the last moment of stability they had of that kind of. It's why Stranger Things is a popular TV show, right? Because that generation is just like, oh, that was, yeah, we rode our bikes, and no, I didn't have a cell phone. And, if Will goes missing, you're right. Nobody can call anybody unless they're on that landline, or using a rotary phone or whatever. So I think that we're going to start to see that in the coin collecting world, where people in their 40s are like seeking kind of, I did this with my parents. This is my time to come back around and bring these things in. And, the last thing I did before the internet was I actually had to catalog my coins by using real catalogs, So I think it's going to be interesting to see that particular generation when they come back into coins, like we talked about. They're getting towards that. The kids are starting to go to college, whatever. They're getting that extra time. What that's going to look like, and like what they're going to be obsessed with. And I would argue that's one reason why pop culture coinage is so popular right now, is because it's an easy entryway into their childhood. The island of Niue, the New Zealand Mint, makes all the pop culture coins, American Samoa. You know, you've got the Batman Batarang, and you've got Coca-Cola bottles and things. But that also allows, the cool thing about that kind of collecting also allows people to invest in silver, because a lot of those have a high silver content, right? So you're not only buying a Batarang that's so cool because you watch the movie in the theater, you know, or the drive-in theater even, but it also is, you know, 0.999 silver. And it's like, okay, so now I have something that I'm investing in that's fun.
I'd be interested to see how when that generation comes back around to pick up collecting again, how cataloging will have evolved by that point.
Yeah.
Because, you know, again, paper catalogs like Krauss, etc., are kind of going out the door. And yeah, we have Heritage, we have eBay right now, but 10, 15, 20 years from now, what will cataloging really look like?
Yeah, and even even searchability. Our librarian spends 90% of his day scanning in documents from the ANAs. You know, since 1891, we're scanning in stuff and we're making it searchable so people can search by keyword. And you know, one of the best features of being an ANA member is you get free subscription to Exact Editions, and Exact Editions has every edition of the numismatist ever written from 1891 to the present scanned in. So if you're doing research today, if I'm researching, you know, the 1916 D Mercury dime, I can read research from the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, just sitting at my computer. Whereas before, you know, I'm trying to get the library to mail me a book. I'm trying to do this. I'm sitting in different places. It definitely changes the nature of things. And I think we're going to see kids. I think this generation of kids are going to be some of our best researchers ever with coins because the information's there and they don't have to leave their house to get it.
Very true.
I'd also point out to expand on the nostalgia and research angles. I'd point out too that coin collecting can be a wonderful community building thing. I know that, you know, I've formed lifelong friendships with folks that I met collecting coins, and it's wonderful to connect with like-minded people. And at a time where folks are sort of craving community, at least a lot of folks are, you know, having a hobby that roots you to the past and also connects you to connects you to your own history, your culture, and that, you know, you can bond with other people over, strikes me that that's, you know, a really wonderful pitch.
And Chris, you were at Summer Seminar, as you mentioned, and that's one of the main reasons. Yeah, people come to Summer Seminar to learn about coins or to learn about grading from a grading expert or to detect counterfeits. But a lot of people will tell you the best time is in the cafeteria at lunch, even though the food's not that great. I'm going to tell you in advance. But being able to sit with other numismatists and talk, and being able to go to a session at night and just have that shared experience, especially for our kids, it's tremendous because so many collectors are on the spectrum that it's the first place they've ever felt like they fit in. You know, oh, somebody else gets me. Finally, no one at school will talk to me about my coins. Why not? You know, but here I've got a whole community of people. So I think that's a great point. The community is huge, especially for numismatics.
I'd like to give a shout out to one of my longtime friends who is a regular viewer of this podcast, because I talk with him almost every single day about coins, and it's one of the best phone calls I can ever expect any given day. And I thank him for that.
Yeah, I want to mention, because going to conferences in any hobby or industry is huge for anybody that wants to connect with their community. I mean, it's just the best place to meet like-minded people that are interested in what you're doing. I highly recommend it to go to any coin show, or if it's tech related, or if it's Pokemon, or if it's anything. There is like-minded people out there to build a community that are interested in what you're doing. So definitely check it out. Local events. There's a lot of national events across the board. I know there's like for coin shows wise, there's, I know the ones in Florida because that's, you know, we're based out of, but there's
ANA's World Fair of Money next month.
World Fair ANA, exactly.
Pittsburgh,
And then
And there's crossover. I mean, I met Dustin at ETH Denver, which is a blockchain event a few years ago.
Yeah, that was where
crossover collecting. I'm actually writing an article like today. I was writing it before this for the Topical magazine, Topical stamp collecting. I wasn't a stamp collector till the money people sent me to a stamp show. That's their own fault when you send a collector to a new hobby. It's like, that's going to not be good for anyone. But just looking at the crossover collecting, right? Like I actually am a Smurf collector, as I mentioned before, but I have a stamp with a Smurf coin on it. It's like 3 levels of cross collecting. And the fact that you just went, see, that's what I mean. Because normally I tell people that and they're like,
I know how that,
like, why do you care?
All of the above. Yeah.
I'm like, I
like
have
that.
a Smurf coin, and the Smurf is a coin collector. I mean, come on.
That's cool.
Like, how do you beat that, right?
Even just in general, I think it's important to not just attend, say, coin shows in your area, but also to support your local coin dealers, because as time goes on, I feel like they could become the way of the dodo bird. And often coin dealers are at these coin shows. So it's a good way, if you're new, it's a good way to establish a relationship with maybe someone who could be trustworthy and get some good information about what are the different coins, what's the difference between a round and a bullion coin, and just establish that relationship. And this way too, if something does come into their shop, that whether it's that Smurf coin, they'll call you up and say, that Smurf coin it's in if you want first crack at it. And it's a nice place to go to if you, for some reason, you ever need to sell. Because you have that relationship, they may likely give you a better offer than a total stranger, right? So as precious metals goes on and the move towards digitization continues, and as prices go up too, because I don't think we're going to see gold and silver prices stay here over the long term, and the average person could just be priced out of the metals. Therefore, we may see a reduction in the number of coin dealers over time.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned the digitization, because I'm like in the middle, kind of in there. But I wanted to touch on like how AI is kind of playing a part. Like, what's your guys' take on that? Like when it comes to like counterfeit detection or even grading, is human error, going to be, implemented into the AI's knowledge base, or is it AI that's going to outperform human, intervention? Like, so what is your guys' take on that?
We're having a really hard time with that, in that we're an educational nonprofit. And so we give Numisma talks, which are bi-monthly talks where people talk about the areas of specialty. And we've recently started getting people requesting to talk about AI. And of course, most of them, our thing is you can't go on and be a sales pitch. Like, you can't come on and be like, I have this machine that's going to tell you the grade of your coin. You can talk about how technical grading is more objective than market grading subjective, the role of if you have some kind of device, it would be more likely to be good at technical. Like, give me facts, objective facts. Russ Vega from Harlan Burke, the COO there, he recently did a talk for us about how he trains his AI bot. So again, not selling anything, but just showing people you have to get it to ask this question this way, or else it's not going to understand the coin knowledge to pop out what you're looking for, right? Like, so this is how I've started. These are the obstacles I've run into. But we do have so much interest in people wanting to, do AI. And our stance right now is, honestly, we're not there yet. I haven't seen anything where I can put my coin and it's going to tell me a grade, and it's going to be, it can take into account toning. It can take into account these other things, maybe in the future, but we're tiptoeing very carefully about it. And we're trying to keep it objective, like totally objective. And I know it scares the hell out of graders. It's got to scare the hell out of grading companies, So it's interesting, but we, like I said, we're not ready yet to embrace it in its whole. We're willing to embrace it in its state of being, kind of thing.
That's valid. Yeah. Yeah, I feel there is some validity behind use cases, but yeah, there's so much more training that needs to happen, and like we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of coins that are showing up that didn't exist before. So having that insight and actually grading it manually and then possibly training that data into AI could possibly be helpful. But I mean, one-to-one coins or specific provenance, it's hard to, validate, what the condition, toning is, completely different across the board. And yeah, so I feel like maybe if it was like newer coins, it might be easier, being that it's, pretty much mint state 70 for pretty much across the board, straight from the mint. But something that may be a key date might require manual intervention. Like, I know how, at least in the Pokemon grading, is that like if you have more vintage Pokemon cards, like early or late 90s Pokemon cards, there's going to be a different grader that goes and grades those cards that are a little bit more keen to vintage cards rather than just a normal, modern card, So I'm assuming that's the same way with PCGS. I know they do have some type of AI grading side business that's happening, but it's in testing that I've heard. Maybe I'm wrong. But that in itself, I don't think we're quite there yet. So I do believe that sentiment as well, Christian. But yeah, if there's
The
any
question for me is, do we want that? Should we?
yeah, do we want?
So
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
I know the tsunami is already coming, and AI is kind of infiltrating every aspect of life.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that on an individual basis or on a company basis that we're forced to adopt it. And kind of getting back to your question, AI and grading, I kind of equate grading to VAR in like the World Cup of Soccer or video replay in sports. I mean, I kind of like the human element. Grading won't always be perfect. Sure, there's probably a little bit up to the individual who's grading it, who may know a little bit more history or may have a
Right.
better tool than somebody else. And grading is a classification system, right? It's a relative against something else. Is this coin better, worse, different than the one I saw yesterday? And you build up this library, this level of knowledge as you just have experience in grading. So I feel like AI and grading, it just doesn't feel right. I mean, I'm sure we're going to get there, and I'm sure services are going to offer it, but it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't smell right, because again, it removes that human aspect. And I think the other thing, a lot of reasons I think why people get into precious metals, is to have a little more financial privacy, is to be a little more out of the system. Maybe they don't like the direction things are going. Maybe things are a little too digital. I've given up too much of my financial information, and there's that aspect too. So it may not be the greatest fit, AI with precious metals. I'd be curious to see the direction it ends up going.
I feel like AI grading is kind of like throwing darts at a dartboard and hoping for a bullseye. In all seriousness, because there's so many variables with grading. Like there's the technical grade based on the wear and hits on an MS coin, strike quality, etc. Right, which the human eye is pretty good at detecting with our own training. And can we get AI to that point? That's a pretty big question. But also surface originality. Has the coin been cleaned? How was it cleaned? How is the coin stored, and how is that affected? Toning as well. Is the toning natural, artificial? Is it market acceptable? Same with old cleaning. Is it market acceptable? Can AI answer those questions looking at a coin based on a scan or a photograph? And, the human eye, we have the luxury of being able to hold that coin in hand and rotating it back and forth to get all those different perspectives. Is that really a hit? Is that really doubling? Is that strike doubling? Is that log acre doubling? Will AI be able to pick up on all that? Not to mention too, like even like grading tools can be a phase. We've heard of grade inflation or gradeflation, as some people call it. We know that some of the graders, so like NGC, PCGS, only have so many seconds to look at a coin, assign a grade, and pass it on. And that might not be right at 4 in the afternoon. So, like, I don't like AI. I'm going to be against it as much as I can. Same with data centers taking up all the water and trash all over the place. But
True.
I think ultimately it's going to be like throwing darts at a dartboard, hoping for a bullseye. And if you want to trust that, that's on the collector. But I think realistically, as a whole, we need to hold off until we can figure out if AI can answer all those questions that we already have when we look at coins ourselves.
Yeah.
I think, to be quite frank, the people who are going to be most interested in AI grading are not numismatists. And, that's like my dad sitting on the couch and he holds his phone up and he goes, "Does this work? Can it tell me how much my coin is worth?" And I'm like, "Dad, no, like, don't, just stop it. Get off Facebook right now. We're not doing that right now." No. But I think for a lot of the questions we get, the people we get that aren't numismatists, they have inherited coins. They want a general idea. They don't even know what an early American copper is, that kind of thing. I could see where some of the basics, even Google Lens, like if I have a world coin and I don't have time to sit and try and it's faded and I'm trying, I can just take a picture and it pops it up and I can see if it's the same coin. Now, I'm not trying to grade it though. I'm trying, at that point, I'm identifying it. So I do see a value in it if it gets to that level. But like you said, I think numismatists are always going to want to grade their coins themselves.
And that's where, I think they have a value, right? Is like you said, just I have this coin or these coins, just do some research for me. What is this thing? I got a 1934 gold St. Gaudens. What is this thing? Who is St. Gaudens? What does this $1 or $20 on it? What does it mean? So just like doing like a Google search, really, and what could be its value today. But again, you're not going to take that at value. It's going to be with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I do. I enjoy this sentiment because, human grading. At the same time, it's I guess kind of touching on LeBlanc, what you said about if it's someone had like a bad day or something, they're like, that's it, like end of the day, like Donahue was saying as well. That could be a take as well. And then AI grading, it's really based on training and it doesn't have that human nature or the feel or but those things could be added to, like the weight distribution, it's a weight specific, but then if it's a certain provenance coin or coin that has not existed, 1-to-1 kind of thing, then we don't know the exact weights, what is the deterioration, is there toning to it, so there's a lot to it. It's going to take a long time to get to that point. I do appreciate technology, but it is encroaching, mentioning about the AI centers and flock cameras or something, stuff like that. Like I'm like right in there. Like I'm like, I want a privacy. That's the whole point of having coins, or having sound money in general, being able to kind of step away from the monetary system where we have the access to bartering and and everything, being able to offset my coins if needed. But yeah, that's a good perspective. I know we're here almost about 15 more minutes, about 17 minutes. Christopher, what is your take? I know you're in the position to oversee a lot of stuff. Do you see AI taking over your job?
Yeah, not like you're scaring me or anything. No, this I don't have waking nightmares about this. What are you talking about? No, jokes aside, I'm agnostic on it. I have a couple of friends in the stamp world. Stamps are. It's funny, Christian. You said that having introducing a collectibles person to a new collectibles field is always a dangerous thing, and that's sort of my time at Coin World magazine and my time at Doyle. I've come into contact with the stamp world quite a bit, and I have a dear friend who uses AI, has a very sophisticated stamp database that he's working on, and he makes he makes a good use case for a number of good use cases for places where AI could be genuinely helpful. For me personally, I use it for very basic research tasks. It's the kind of thing where if I need to remember, which date am I looking for in this series, or is there a particular, if I'm looking at a collection of medals and if there's an obscure one that I don't necessarily recognize, or if I don't have the reference book for it, I can go to resources like the ANA, which their library is tremendously helpful. The Numismatic portal, any number of other online resources. And AI, will have, sometimes even you go into a search engine, it'll spit out an AI overview, so to speak. And that sort of thing for basic factual questions just speeds up the research process if I don't feel like having to, go into my library, find the appropriate book, crack it open. Sometimes, and what I find is AI gets it right most of the time, right? But I'm always going to verify. And for the moment, I use it for very basic things. And, I'm not too worried about it taking my job necessarily, but it's something I'm thinking a lot about, and how to integrate it in a useful way. So I don't know if that's a helpful answer to your question, but
no, it's perfect. Yeah, exactly. It can never really take a human's insight or maybe even response, like that, especially if you're overseeing things and auctions and estates and going in there, it's like a Tesla robot go in there and give them a quote, like I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
It can spit out some information. It can make some research tasks quicker.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, for the time being, I think we're going to need to keep getting our hands dirty and keep getting our hands dirty with this stuff.
Yeah. I've been training AI agents. It's helpful for certain things I do for lead generation, the vibe coding applications. But if it was having to do, contacting specific, like for instance, we've been in talks with Michael Gaudioso and Damstra. Those conversations, you want to keep it personal. Like you can't just be like an AI agent, just go and talk to these people and be like, yeah, they're gonna have like in-depth conversation, and then want to meet in person, and then you have no, backstory to that conversation. Like maybe So like I think that human interaction and intervention is necessary, especially being in the hobby. But yeah, I think there's some parallels and use cases for sure. At least at a smaller level. But yeah, so we're getting the community questions. We've got about 13 minutes here. Sometimes we go over just a little if you guys don't mind, but let's see. We did answer some questions. You say good afternoon, everybody. Let's see. If you had $1,000 today, what coin would you buy? What's that look
I got
like?
some holes in my halftime album I'd like to fill.
Yeah, definitely get a hold of that one. Those albums need places to put coins in there.
Well, that's a good question because I hear that question all the time, and the answer is going to be it depends, and it depends on what your goals are. Like if you're trying to protect yourself from inflation, and you just want to buy something and put it aside and sit on it for many years, then you may want to look at the gold. You probably can't buy too much at $1,000, but it's better than holding fiat dollars. If you want to do the same, silver could do the job, but it also comes with some added maybe benefits of has a bit of an investment potential too, just given its use in industry. So a supply and demand, it could have some upward pressure on the price, or it could be a bit of both if you're looking for those two different goals. So like anything in life, there's no one answer, no easy answer. It depends on what you want it to do for you, and then understand what each metal does, and then make your an educated choice.
Yeah, that's a open-ended question. I And then we mentioned fractionals in the past. So that might be something to kind of get into, lower end, higher end, depending on which fractional.
And fractional is interesting these days, especially with silver having gone up so much recently, even though it's come down. I'm seeing more and more fractional silver products out there, but it's affordable in a way. But you got to watch those premiums, because fractional silver can be very expensive given the huge premiums on them.
I think the U.S. Mint will be offering fractional silver eagles in the coming years. So there's that too. Yeah,
definitely can see that. So I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Should beginners collect raw or graded coins? Conflicting.
I would say graded. Raw, it could be a really slippery slope if you don't know what you're doing. You could really get taken.
I'm a little biased towards raw coins that go into an album.
Yeah, that's
of course, sure.
Figured both the Davids have conflicting responses, maybe.
Well, I would say it depends. I mean, you're looking to get the best bang for your buck, and you just want as much weight as possible, then you could be looking at something like rounds. Or if you're looking for something with a more collectible value that's more maybe assured in terms of because it's graded, then maybe grading's the way to go. So again, there's no one answer.
True. Let's see. Would you rather buy at an auction or from a dealer? Let's see.
I'm biased. I'd have to. I'm biased. I'd have to be an auction, but I won't pretend that my view is. I won't pretend my view is objective there. So I'll let other folks weigh in.
We have customers that do both, so it's the situation.
I think it depends on the coin and the reputation of the source that the coin's coming from. Like, there's plenty of auction houses. There's plenty of dealers out there. And, if the auction house has zero or negative reputation, then maybe stay away from that one. I'm not saying anything about Chris's. I think Chris has a good run right now. So
I appreciate that.
But same with dealers. Like, if you walk into a shop and the dealer has either maybe they've just started, or their Google reviews right now are kind of like don't go here, then again, you got to take a look at the reputation of the place you're going to.
True. Yeah, auction house or eBay. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think for kids, auction houses feel safer. We see a lot of kids, that go to reputable auction houses because they know they're getting something real and their money. Obviously, you have to pay the fees and everything, but at the same time, they're not gambling when they're still learning so much.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. Are younger collectors changing the hobby?
I would say yes and no, being that I deal probably the most with kids in this group. I would say yes in the way that you are seeing a lot more kids wanting to be dealers. They have learned that, if you know what you're doing and you hone your skill, you can make a lot of money. I still say about 50% of what I deal with are dealer kids, and the others are more collectors. They want to collect. They enjoy the research, the hobby, everything like that. I think the research, as I already mentioned, is the biggest piece we're going to see changing. We're going to see really great numismatic writers in the next 20 years because they do have access to all the sources, or they're going to be getting access to all those sources in one place. So I think certain things like, for example, military payment certificates, war occupation money. Up to this point, a lot of the research is done based on what people can find. And then they find somebody new put something on eBay and it's like, oh, we didn't realize that Japan did this in the Philippines in this series and whatever. And it changed. I think we're going to see a lot more thorough research coming out of the kids to squash anyone's fears We're not losing collectors. People for years, and then when I started my job, people were like, coin collecting's dying. We've got to stop it. And I'm like, a lot of pressure to put on me right now.
Yeah.
But that's not the trend we're seeing at all. I know Stamps is feeling that in a big way because of the mail, but we're not, even with electronic debit, credit card, we're not seeing it because kids still like that tangible asset of the coin and the story of the coin. So I think they're going to change the hobby in good ways, but I think they're definitely going to preserve the things that have been cherished for so long as well.
Yeah, I think younger collectors could change precious metals because a lot of it is supply and demand. So if manufacturers see that the demographics are there's a growing younger population, they're going to produce coins and rounds like Marvel Comics and DC Comics, and they're going to produce stuff that their audience and their clients are likely to buy. So from an economic supply and demand perspective, the more young people in there probably will see more products that would resonate more for them.
Yeah, I feel like there's a renaissance happening across the board with collecting in general. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think the new minds and new ideas coming into the space is going to be helpful, kind of turbocharging things in different ways, and bringing more value education to coins that may not have had that limelight. So yeah, I think that's important. I think we're at this kind of preface of where the hobby is going to be going. People are collecting more than ever. The precious metals are obviously going to have another run, suppose we can say that. And that's another question I want to go into. Are we entering a new bull market for rare coins? What's the take? Is that precious metals? Is it the coins? Is it these coins obviously they're on the installation in different ways, but precious metals do imply the price of things as well. So what is your guys' take on that? So are we at is this it? We're gonna teeter and it's gonna go down, or we're gonna go back up and all-time high, euphoria, FOMO kind of thing?
That's the $1 million question. If you're talking strictly precious metals, as far as numismatics, in my opinion, we've been in a bull market for years and years, and I don't see any slowing down.
That's true.
I was at a local show yesterday, and the attendance was a bit of a drop off from before, and most everyone in the room cited summertime being the reason for it. So I'm hoping that was just a blip, and otherwise an upwards trend, because the shows before that actually had a pretty decent attendance coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that in some of the events I've been to in the blockchain space. It's been like crickets some years, and some years everybody has Lambos and want to share their ideas of FOMO, essentially. So yeah, I can see that sentiment is maybe last year was a little bit more on the upside, and then this year everyone's just like, hey, let's kind of level out. But yeah, that hopefully doesn't determine what the market conditions are, I guess to say. But yeah, we will see. I think people are realizing what value outside of the fiat monetary system that we have, and being able to expand their horizons on knowledge base around keeping their wealth, maintaining the value and protecting their family, and it's definitely a change of hands, when it comes to heirs and those who are passing are a bit older now, passing on to their children. So we will see what happens here. I think we're all in a good place. We're all in our respected categories and industries and hobbies, all similar but different categories per se. And we'll just pass this along to everybody as we take off here. We'll start with LeBlanc. What's going on with you? You want to plug anything? I want to let our audience know what's going on with what you're doing.
So yeah, if people don't know, I coach people on precious metals, and first of all, is it right for them? Because a lot of people, I think precious metals have had a lot of limelight over the past 6 years. A lot of people maybe aren't sure what they are or not sure if it's right for them. So I help people to have that conversation to see if it is right for them. Like I said, talking about financial literacy and other things. And then if they feel like it is right for them, I help them to develop a plan. And that plan is, well, is it gold? Is it silver? Is it a blend of both? Kind of much like what I've been talking about today. Like, what are your needs? What do you want them to do for you? Is it a wealth preservation strategy? Is it leave a legacy for your kids? Is it to preserve purchasing power, inflation protection? So those kinds of conversations. And then, like I said, that plan starts with the mix between gold and silver, weights. Are we looking at a blend of 1 ounce Eagles and 10 ounce Canadian Royal Canadian Mint bars, gold coins? And then we talk about where to buy them safely, because that's one of the big hangups. And I think one of the biggest fears that maybe prevents people from pulling the trigger is it's difficult to send in some cases thousands of dollars over an e-check or a payment when you're new to this, and you don't always know or want to go down the coin store because you don't know what you're doing and you don't want to be taken advantage of, and you're always worried, am I going to get the right thing? So in developing that plan, I actually help people go through the acquisition process. So again, I don't sell anything. I help people to have that conversation and to better understand if precious metals are right for them, and to have a plan to know how much of what that they want and need and where to buy it safely, so they feel confident in doing so.
How can they find you?
My website is Self-Sufficient You. What is my website actually? It's like my phone number. I don't even know what that is. selfsufficientyou.wixsite.com/welcome. And there's podcasts on there. There's blog articles, and people can sign up for a free 15-minute discovery call to have a chat with me, like I said, to see if precious metals may be right for them.
For sure, yeah. Check them out. LinkedIn, Precious Metals Coaching. David LeBlanc, appreciate you being here. David Donahue, how can they find you? What's going on with you? What's going on? New albums?
Yep. Yeah. So albums again. Coins of Charlotte Mint. There's also a Delanago version. I'm currently doing a neat upgrade on my website to make it a little more user-friendly, adding some options like page color, font color, if they want to have separate colors for the front and back, so they can make a album that looks like the flag of their home country. A couple things like that. I started selling coins at shows alongside the albums to kind of further the idea of collecting. And more recently, I started offering pre-33 gold as part of it as a collectible item, not just as a bullion investment, but gearing towards collectibles. So that's where I'm headed right now, in that kind of direction. It's more albums, upgrading my website, and offering collectible coins from the low value of cents and less to pre-33.
Nice. What's your website again?
DonahueNumismatics.com.
DonahueNumismatics.com. Okay, check him out. He has really cool albums. There's going to be a huge update happening soon. If you guys look for anything specific, definitely check that out. I like what you're doing there. Christian Strayhorn, what's going on? What's next conference show? What are you doing?
So much exciting stuff, Dustin.
Yeah.
To start with, we have just finished our core for the Numismatic Diploma program. So if you were an older 10 years ago, you took our Numismatic Diploma program to become a numismatic scholar. You took 6 courses, you ordered books, you read the books, you took a test. You had to get the test proctored, and it made you feel like you were at the DMV. We have changed that whole line. It is now online, interactive. All 4 courses are available now. So we have people earning their numismatic scholar certificate as we speak. We have over 800 people currently in the program since we launched it. Of those 4 courses, the 4 courses are Introduction to Numismatics, Grading U.S. Coins, Counterfeit Detection and Altered Coin Detection, and the Modern Minting Process and Error Coins. We're not promising anyone they're going to become a grader, but we do give you examples. We use high resolution photos. We use luster imaging, things like that, so people at least get an idea of what grading is. And then we encourage people who want to do like in-depth studies where they can touch the coins to come to our summer seminar. But that's exciting. We've got that totally launched on our website. We have also recently in our Aristotle's Vault video series released a new 10-episode series called The Business of Being a Coin Dealer. It is with Rob Oberth, Don Bonzer, and Wade Spencer. And basically they talk about the basics of trying to figure out if you want to be a coin dealer and what that entails. How do you choose a bank or a credit union? How do you set up your business? All that stuff, creating a business plan, just the basics for people interested in that. We're also going to be releasing in September. I just got the release date today. Our Walking Among Giants series, which is a series in perpetuity, meaning it will go on forever. It's interviews with people. We're trying, as I mentioned, to preserve their knowledge. Episode 1 will be Ken Brissett. Episode 2 is Mary Salvain. If you don't know who she is, she's one of the very first women graders ever. She worked for ANAX in the early 1980s. The third episode will be Don Kagan. The fourth episode will be Jeff Garrett and Seth Chandler talking about the circle of giving that we talked about earlier. Fifth episode will be the big paper money guy, Joe Bowling, talking about his research in paper money and the world of paper money. So we are trying to add to that series 2 every year. So we will continually be adding people to that one. We also have the Young Numismatists of America, as I also plugged earlier, which is our YNA Coin Club. Any kid can join the ANA by filling out the Coins for A's online. Once you're a member, you can join the YNA. Great benefits, including, ding, 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 winner, winner, you get a free membership, premium membership to NGC.
Wow.
They offer,
Nice.
yeah, they offer that to our kids. They are our official sponsor, our grading company sponsor. So any kid who is in the YNA can request their discount code, which gives them a free year, and they can renew it each year that they're still a YNA member. Huge benefit. Plus they get to come to the club meetings every month, see presentations. We've had great guest speakers. It's amazing. And then the last thing I want to mention is the show. We have our World's Fair of Money coming up in August 25th through the 29th, I believe, in Pittsburgh. World's Fair of Money. It is trending to be the biggest show yet. As you guys know, every show has been bigger than the last over the past couple of years. We talked about that momentum. So we're excited to see what happens in Pittsburgh. You can find out more about any of our offerings at money.org/education.
Yeah, money.org. Definitely check it out. You guys have really good material, and everything has been revamped. The website is looking fantastic, easily accessible for anybody who wants to be educated in the hobby. We did have Christopher drop off. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if he's coming back. John, what's going on? It's shaking.
We will continue plugging away. This is a historic year for us, and in terms of what's being released, we sell a lot of modern coins as well as a good amount of pre-1933 gold, silver, copper. So we're just, it's exciting every day for us. We've been busier than ever, and I just again want to thank everyone for coming on and joining the panel. I truly enjoy hearing everyone's perspectives and getting to know you all better. So thank you so much for being with us again today.
Yeah, that's appreciate everyone being here. Christopher, you want to plug away with what you're doing?
Yep. Yeah. Sorry about that. I had to step away for a second. We'll be having a sale. Next Coins, Stamps, Currency, Collectibles sale is going to be on August 12th. The catalog should be up at some point in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I would encourage folks to go to doyle.com and make your way over to the coin section and check that out.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know. Congratulations on your promotion, Christopher. Appreciate you being here with us. Appreciate everyone being here. David,
Thanks so much.
Christian, Sweetheart, no problem. David LeBlanc and John, always. It's a pleasure. We will be here next week with one of our guests as well, so definitely tune in for that. And we're going to definitely invite you guys for another panel in the near future. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's been a great
thanks
show.
for having us.
Thanks everybody. Appreciate it. And this is the State of Numismatics Metals in the Future Collecting Part 2. Thanks everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Take care.